This introduction will focus on the basic layout of the AddonSoftware ERP solution and demonstrate the thought we've put into the presentation consistency and user control. We'll take a look around to give you a feel for the layout, organization, and navigation. We'll also have a look at AddonSoftware's search, filtering, and output options. We'll touch on a few of the handy user features that are built into the product. We'll have a look at the role-based security and the auditing system. And finally, we'll take a look at some of the reporting and the flexibility we've put into the product there. After logging into the solution, you're presented with the AddonSoftware MDI Frame with the menu options on the left portion of the screen. AddonSoftware is distributed in fully integrated bundles, and there are 3 of them. Accounting is accounts payable, accounts receivable, and GL. The distribution bundle includes the accounting modules and adds inventory control, purchase order processing, sales order processing, and sales analysis. The final bundle is manufacturing, which includes both accounting and distribution bundles and adds the bill of materials and shop floor control. The upper left panel displays the modules, as you saw me clicking around there, and the tasks associated with a selected module, in this case accounts payable, are displayed in the lower left panel. The tasks are listed in workflow order to add to efficiency and speed. Commonly used tasks are displayed open for easy launching, while other less used tasks are neatly organized into the folders. This structure is consistent from module to module. This view is the administrator's view, and so we're displaying all of the modules, the tasks, and the administrative functions. Other types of users can be assigned to more restrictive views. For example, AP clerks may only be able to see and select the AP module, and they can be further restricted to a set of AP tasks, and within those tasks have limitations placed on what they can view, add, edit, or delete. Let's select the accounts receivable module, and in the lower panel, underneath maintenance, we'll select the customer's task to launch the customer master record. Notice that both the main frame of the application and the customer's form have navigation buttons. Again, user flexibility. We can clear the form, move forward, backward, display the first and last records that we have in the system. Forms, such as this one, can be launched in MDI mode, multiple document interface, or SDI mode, or launched in a browser by simply selecting a task and right-clicking to open that function. Let's launch this in SDI mode. You'll notice that the form is now no longer constrained by the application frame and can be moved around independently. This is very handy for multi-screen workspaces and puts the user in control of their screen real estate. Selecting Launch in Browser launches the user's default browser and the selected form. The entire app can also be launched in the browser since it is using JavaScript and HTML5. This is achieved with a single code set for both presentation and the logic levels. Let's close that out. Back to the AR customer form, let's clear it. And we will enter Customer 100, Everest Industries. Note that users have the option to use their mouse or keyboard for this type of navigation. Let's have a look at this form. It's a standard form, consistent throughout the product. You'll notice that it's comfortable, has a modern screen layout, has tabs across the top to display additional information. The buttons on the bottom of the window are easy to understand. They are clear the form, delete the record, if those permissions were granted to this user, and we can move backwards and forwards. Most all forms also have this display additional options drop-down list. Here you can quickly navigate to different types of records that are associated with this customer master form. Let's select the Profile tab, and you'll see a lot of information commonly associated with the order entry process. Next to each profile field, notice that there's a magnifying glass lookup that we use to quickly access records for that particular field. To the right of the lookup button is the description of the code entered into the field that is linked to the code's master record. These are all hyperlinks. If we were to clear this, we can launch the record query button at the bottom of the frame. That brings up our demo data of customers that we've set up in the system. We can sort the data columns in ascending or descending order, and that's indicated with the little blue triangle. We can perform multiple column searches by using the Shift key, and you'll notice that the hover text will display what's going on there. Customer name ascending, address ascending. We can clear that to a single sort with a single click of the button. We can also search within this grid using the search box. So I've selected customer name, and I'm going to type in a single character, R, and without a secondary click or button activation, it's sorted my field and found Robinson Enterprises and Ron Anderson. I also have a wildcard capability. I'm going to type in Spore, the wildcard's SPOR, and it pulls up Taylor Sporting Goods and Western Sport Distributors. Let's clear that out, and we are returned to a full data set. We can also do similar searches using all columns. To quickly export the data from this or any grid in AddonSoftware, we can simply right-click on the table to reveal the Export Records function. From here, we can select the type of output, PDF, CSV, TXT, XLS, XML, or send it directly to the system printer. Selecting the inquiry columns empowers users to display only the columns that they feel are relevant to their reporting needs. Columns can be removed from view by deselecting the checkbox next to the column name and then selecting OK. So I'm going to get rid of the street name addresses right here in the zip, click OK, and I get my own customized view. And I can restore them by rechecking them or just clicking the Restore button. Column order can also be set here by selecting a column. We'll do something silly. We'll grab zip code and I can move it into the first position, or I can use the tool on the side, the tool button on the side, to move it any place I'd like. And then click OK, and I've moved the zip code around a little bit there. For even larger data sets requiring filtering before saving or outputting, we have the option of launching the filter wizard in the top right corner. So I click that. Using the wizard, we can quickly create filters using column selects right here. Select a column. So we're going to do state. This is going to be a real simple one. And the operator value, greater than, less than, and many other common SQL query operators. Then we can enter a value. So we're going to go equal to, value will be null, and we select enter. The SQL clause we've created using the wizard is displayed in the lower right field, where advanced users can perform manual edits. The query can also be saved and named. So we're going to execute this query, and it's found the null values in the state column here, and we can save it down here and name it, and then it will appear as a selection next to the filter wizard, and it can optionally be saved as a filter for all users in the organization. So let's clear all, and I'll show you one that I've saved previously. It's my Oregon value in the state column position, and just by selecting it, it executes that SQL. There's some really handy user-centered features throughout AddonSoftware that make the solution a friendly work environment. I can create and save my report selections for the next time I need to run a report. For example, let's select in the AP module, we'll go to the aging report. We make some changes here. I've got an option to change the aging date, the age by, how my report is produced, be it alphabetic or by vendor ID, etc. Instead of having the user having to change that to the way they'd like it every single time, they can make one set of changes. The save button becomes active. I can now save that filter criteria, and it will then appear as a selection up top. For example, up here I've named this a weekly aging report, and the description, I made it invoice date alpha. So it's going to change the age by from due date to invoice and ID to alpha just by selecting it. Zamo. Now I can run that report the way I'd like to see it. Being able to share this across organizations is a great way for standardizing commonly run reports. Another handy user feature is the ability to quickly rerun a task done previously in the same session. In the bottom left corner is a history area that tracks all tasks that are run in a session. I can make a selection from this list and select the green process button, and it takes me directly there. Another navigation aid is the user favorites feature. Each user can quickly create their own favorites list to launch a task without having to navigate through the menu tree. Simply right-click on any task and select Add to Favorites. That item now becomes a part of my drop-down favorites list, and selecting it launches the task. Favorites can be launched across modules, across bundles, and it's a real time saver. Let's return to the role-based security feature mentioned earlier. AddonSoftware's users are created and assigned to a role or series of roles. Each role has a set of defined permissions by module, task, form, all the way down to the field level within a form. The permissions can be set to allow or disallow, view, add, modify, delete, or print records. Running in parallel to the role-based security is an audit log feature that records the user, the date, time, and the old and new values. Let's start with the security roles. In the administrator's view, we're going to go down and select Barista Administration. In the lower panel, under the Security folder, select Security Roles. And using the navigation keys, let's review the roles that are set up in this demo data. We have the administrator login that's granted global administrator permissions with just the checkbox. We have a guest, and we have a restricted view. Here we can create a new role. We can actually go in and assign effective dates for temporary roles. We can delete a role and give a particular role, as I mentioned just a moment ago, administrator privileges simply using the checkbox. From the Display Additional Options dropdown, I can have a look and see who has been assigned to this role. And it's Paul. Permissions for the role are set by the administrator in the Barista Administration module under Security by selecting the Security Administration task. So let's do that. The top portion of the form has the defined roles we just saw a moment ago: admin, guest, and restricted. Selecting a defined role in the top panel displays the permissions for each area of the solution in the lower panel, and it's quite a selection. Restrictions can be placed to view, add, modify, delete, or print, any one of the functions that's defined here. Change auditing is also administered in this area. What we would do is we would go down to a function, double click on it, and here you can activate permissions to view or modify. The auditing record would be created when a record is added, modified, or deleted. And I'll show you where that is in just one moment. Let's go to an area that's already been defined. These are activated. So in the aging report, I can turn this restricted access role capability off with a simple click of the button. You'd save that change out and it would affect all those users who are assigned the restricted access role. Let's take a look at where the audit logs are stored. So we're not going to save that. They're in the same general area. We're going to come down to audit log. So PY back on January 17th at 1400 hours changed this area on the customer master. Here's the old value and here's the new value. So we have a user, and the user has been assigned to a role, and the role has defined permissions. So let's see what the access privileges are when we sign in with this role. So I'm going to close out here, minimize the screen, and we're going to go and come in as a restricted user. This user only has access to AP, AR, GL, inventory control, and purchase order processing. Additionally, when this restricted user selects AR and goes back to that customer maintenance form we looked at a moment ago, they have limitations that have been set there as well. So here's Everest Industries again, and we're presented with a form that allows edits to some fields, view only to other fields, and finally some fields are not viewable at all. You'll notice these fields over here to the right are not viewable. Contact name is not editable, but I can view it. And up here in the address, I can make edits if I needed to do that. Granular control of access to your data. I'm going to return to my administrator's role. Let's have a look at a few of the reporting capabilities built into AddonSoftware. We're going to select accounts payable, and we're going to go to the aging report. We're going to run that with the default settings though. It's going to bring up my aging report. Within this report though, as with all the reports, we've provided the user with formatting control and output options. One of the formatting controls allows users to adjust column widths by selecting the Adjust Columns button at the top of the report. We decide that we really want more space for the name and phone number. I'm going to click Save, click Refresh, and I've got my own personal version of this form. Obviously a very crude example of the capabilities here. When running this report in the future, the columns will be formatted the way I like them. And then report output types can be pre-configured, or the user can be given permissions to select their own output format and type or types. And that can be done by selecting the Output Selection button. Within the Output Selection window, we have the ability to select System Printer, PDF, CSV, TXT, and the other output options. And I can save them to disk in those formats. I can email them, I can fax them. I have an interface available for Google Docs, for cloud storage, and this again can either be set up so that users have access to this, or it can be pre-configured where this print preview report would actually launch and do its necessary items as far as saving or emailing, etc. Other reports in AddonSoftware are created using the open source Jaspersoft Studio report writer. An example is the customer statement. So we're going to go back to accounts receivable once again, customer master, go to our friends at Everest Industry, and we're going to go and print a statement for them. A part of the new partner training is to become proficient with this tool and to create modern, professional looking statements and reports wherever your customer requires them. We've also put graphical reporting into the product. In accounts receivable, under reports, let's launch the graphical sales report by salesperson. And this brings up a 3D pie chart sales report for 2 salespeople. We've got date range selectors at the top. And we also have other graphical data charting types available by selecting the images in the top. We've got a line chart, bar chart, 2 different types of gauges here, and a layered area chart to the far right. We've also included drill down reports where different data tables can be linked to give the user increasingly detailed reporting. So here we've launched a sales by customer type report, and it gives us a grand total there. Let me slide that in for us and bump it up a little bit to see better. So the total sales there is actually a hyperlink, which should take us down to another layer of detail. So that total was made up by these vendors, these customers, and we can look at Taylor and see what made up their total, and it's of these invoices. And those invoices we can also drill down and have a look at what those are. AddonSoftware is adaptable to the workforce language of the installation site all the way down at the user level. Before logging into the solution, I can select this drop down, which will allow me to select my language, and then I would go straight into the login.